Hey there, guitar fanatics. You know, one of the biggest compliments that any guitarist can get is when somebody hears something you play and they say, you know, I knew that was you, only a few notes. But the odds are you're never going to have somebody say that to you if you're only learning other people's guitar licks. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to take a lick that you already know and turn it into 6, 8, 10, or 20 by adding your own personal flair. And here's something that's really amazing. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it, and the easier it's going to become to do it on the fly when you're out at a jam session or playing with a band or you're doing some recording. You're going to start to sound like you, and that's a big deal. This is a very important video if you're looking to become a good lead guitar player. So I hope you watch it till the end, and I hope you take the message to heart. I'd love it if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm Charlie Long. Thanks for checking it out. Let's transform some licks. So let's take a super famous lick and use it as our first template to work from. Let's take a portion from the melody line of the Derek and the Dominoes, or Eric Clapton song Layla, and it's right out of the D minor pentatonic pattern 1 up at the 10th fret. So this lick is all on the B and E string, so we're going to play frets 10 and 13 on the B string, 10 and 13 on the E string, back to 10, 13 on the B string again, and we end up at the D note, the 10th fret on the high E. We all know the rhythm. And then Eric adds a little of that signature one finger vibrato. So what can we do to transform this lick? So how about starting off with something really simple for our first variation? We're just going to end the lick with a unison bend. We're going to bend the C note at the 13th fret of the B string up to D to match that D we're playing on the high E string. For a second variation, how about we take that C note at the 13th fret of the B string, bend it up to D, but we're going to do a pre-bend this time. We're going to bend that note up before we articulate it, and it would sound like this. Add some nice vibrato to the end of it. For a third variation, how about we bend that C note up to D again, but then we were going to release that bend and pull off down to the A note at the 10th fret of the B string. That would go like this. Again, add a little nice vibrato at the end. For a fourth variation, how about we play that previous lick, but after we pull off down to that A note, we go back to the C, bend it up to D, and play it twice. Check this out. So for variation number 5, we could take the original Layla lick, bend the C up to D, let off that note immediately, then slide into the D and bend that up a step and a half, and then let off of it. That would sound like this. And that's already starting to sound pretty savage. For variation number 6, let's mix it up a little bit. It might sound cool to play the first 5 notes of the original, but then go to the E note at the 12th fret of the E string. Then we're going to play the 10th fret of the E string, and then 13 and 10 on the B string. And put some nice vibrato on that A note to the end of the lick one more time. Number 7, we're going to play the same lick that we just did, but when we get to that A note at the 10th fret of the B string, we're not going to stay there. We're going to hit the D at the 10th fret of the E string and then play the C at the 13th fret of the B string and then slide into the D at the 15th fret to get that unison sound. So here we go again. We're going to play the first 5 notes, go to E, play down to the A, then hit the D at the 10th fret of the E string, and then slide the C, the 13th fret of the B string, into the D. All right, variation number 8, we're going to play the same lick as the previous example, but after sliding into the D on the B string, let's bend that baby up a step and a half to F. Check it out. Now that's a pretty wicked sounding blues lick. Variation number 9. How about combining the original Layla lick with an Albert King SRV type of thing? We're going to play the first 6 notes of the Layla lick. Then we're going to slide into the D at the 15th fret of the B string. Then we're going to play frets 13 and 15 on the high E. And we're going to bend that 15th fret up a whole step. We're going to let off that bend, go to the 13th fret on the E string, and end up by playing the D at the 15th fret of the B string. The whole thing would sound like this. We're already at the 10th variation, and I feel like we're just getting warmed up. Now this variation, we're going to combine 2 Erics, Clapton and Eric Johnson. We're going to play the first 6 notes of the Layla lick. Then we're going to slide into the D at the 15th fret of the B string. We're going to play frets 13 and 15 on the E string. So that D, F, and G are the kind of lead in that Eric Johnson uses to get his licks going. Then we're going to descend 4 notes. We're going to play frets 17, 15, and 13 on the E string, and then the D at the 15th fret of the B string. Then we're going to descend 5 notes. We're going to play 15 and 13 on both the E and the B strings, and then 14 on the G string. And then to finish with some flair, we're going to play frets 13 and 15 on the B string. And we're going to put a big old bend on that D note, step and a half up to F. So all together, that lick sounds like this. Here's the Layla part, the Eric Johnson part, and then the big bend. So now, a little smoother, up to speed. So there you have it. That's 10 variations, 10 new licks based on the original lick that we stole from Layla. And it only took us a couple of minutes. Now granted, I've been doing this for a lot of years and this might be something that's new to you. But the key to getting good at this is to set aside time for what I call structured, unstructured practice. This type of practice, it doesn't involve diagrams or charts or tabs, but it does involve taking a lick and just experimenting, seeing what you can add to it, whether it's a new beginning, a new ending, some different phrasing, or adding a few notes, or all of the above. I promise you, you will surprise yourself what you can come up with and how productive this type of practice can actually be. And the thing about it, you're practicing being creative as much as you are practicing developing your guitar technique. Okay, let's do one more. And this time we're going to start with something really plain. Let's take an E minor 7 arpeggio. We're going to start with the notes D and E on the G string at the 7th and 9th frets, the G note at the 8th fret of the B string, and then B and D at the 7th and 10th frets of the high E string. Now let's dress this thing up a little bit. So for this first variation, we're going to play the first 3 notes. Then we're going to go back to our E note. We're going to jump over to the B note at the 7th fret of the high E, and then to the G note at the 8th fret of the B string, the D note at the 10th fret of our high E, and then down to the B. Sounds like this. And then we're going to slide into the E at the 12th fret from the D note at the 10th fret. Up to speed. Variation number 2, we're going to play the previous lick, but we're going to slide to the F sharp at the 14th fret. And then we're going to pull off to the 10th fret, slide into the 12th, and then we're going to bend the 15th fret, which is a D note on the B string, up a whole step to match that E note at the 12th fret of the high E. So here's that lick. Variation number 3, we're going to play our stair-step arpeggio again, as I call it. And then we're going to play frets 12, 10 and 8, slide to the 7th fret, hammer onto 8. So that sounds like this. So we hammer onto frets 8 and 10, and we're going to finish by sliding from the 8th fret into the 10th fret. So that last part of the lick, here's the stair step arpeggio with that ending. Cool lick. Variation number 4, we're going to do our stair step thing again. And then we're going to ascend the E string with 3 3-note patterns going right up the E minor scale. We're going to play frets 10, 12, and 8, 14, 12, and 10, and then 15, 14, and 12. And we're going to finish by sliding the D at the 15th fret of the B string up to the E at the 17th fret. Here that lick is a little slow. Here it is, a little more up to speed. Variation number 5. Let's add some chromatic craziness. We're going to play our stair step arpeggio. But when we get to that D note at the 10th fret, we're going to play frets 10, 9, 8, 7. All pull-offs, and then we're going to do 10, 9, 8, 7 on the B string. And after we hit that F sharp at the 7th fret of the B string, we're going to slide the E at the 9th fret of the G string up to F sharp at the 11th fret. We're going to slide downward out of that to the 9th fret, pull off to 7, hammer on to 9, and then slide from into 9 from below that index finger at the 7th fret. Whole thing would sound like this. One more time. So we've gone from a plain old minor 7th arpeggio to adding chromatics and all sorts of slides with hammer-ons and pull-offs, some really cool phrasing. Now let's shake things up a little bit. We can start to incorporate some pentatonic ideas with the arpeggio. Let's drop the stair step pattern now. We're just going to play up the arpeggio. So we're going to play from D to D. Then we're going to slide up to the E at the 12th fret. And we're going to descend 6 notes of the E minor pentatonic scale, pattern 5, which is right there, basically the 10 and 12 frets. So that takes us from the E at the 12th fret to the, on the high E string, to the E at the 9th fret of the G string. One more time. I really like that sound. Variation number 7, we're going to expand on those pentatonics and we're going to climb up the fretboard. Let's do the same lick as the previous one, but when we descend that first pentatonic pattern, we're going to play 5 notes. So here's how we started out with our arpeggio. Now we're going to slide to the E note and go down 5 notes. Then we're going to slide up to the 15th fret, which is a G note, and descend 5 notes again. So now we're up in pattern 1 of E minor pentatonic. Then we're going to do one more slide and we're going to play 3 descending notes, and we're going to end up on the E note at the 17th fret of the B string. Here's that whole thing slowly. A little more up to speed. That variation, it just sounds really great to me, and now we're really covering some ground on the fretboard. Variation number 8, let's add a note on the G string, and we're going to add the F sharp at the 11th fret. So we're going to play frets 7, 9, 11, 9, and 7. And then we're going to play through the arpeggio up to the D note at the 10th fret of the E string. But play it with your 3rd finger, because we're going to play the E at the 12th fret with our pinky. And we're going to end this one with a bluesy slide from 10 to 12. Pull off back to that 10th fret. And end up on the 12th fret of the B string, the B note. So here's that whole thing slowly, that first legato part, the arpeggio, grab the D note with the third finger, we're gonna grab the E note with our pinky, slide from 10 to 12, pull off back to 10, and play the note of the 12th fret of the B string. Here's the whole thing. Variation number 9, let's fire up a legato pattern and mix it with some chromatics. So we're going to play frets 11 of the G string and pull off to 7, hammer on to 9, 11, pull off to 9, and then 7. That's our first legato pattern. We're then going to sweep up the arpeggio, hammer onto our D note at the 10th fret, then we do pull-offs down to the B note at the 7th. And then we're going to hit the 10th fret of the B string, the A note, and slide it into the B note at the 12th fret. Here's that whole thing. Kind of fusion-y sounding. And then lastly, we're going to build out the previous variation by adding a short pentatonic run at the end. So the previous lick we had the legato, arpeggio, our chromatics, and the slide to the B at the 12th fret of the B string. And we slide up to that B this time. We're going to make that the first of 5 descending notes of E minor pentatonic pattern 5. Then we're going to slide into the A at the 14th fret of the G string and descend 5 notes in E minor pentatonic pattern 1. We're going to be down at the B note at the 14th fret of our A string, and we're going to finish the lick by going back to the E at the 14th fret of the D string. Here it is in pieces, our legato section, the sweep, hammer on, pull off. Here's our first 5-note pentatonics, the second one, and our ending note. Here it is, a little more up to tempo. So that's the process. And I know I've had more experience probably with this kind of thing than you have, but I sat here and I came up with these licks just like I'm telling you to. Start out with a little nugget of information like an arpeggio or a portion of a famous lick. Start building it out little by little. When you play something you really like, play it again a bunch of times. It's a great idea to tab out licks that you play that you really like, or in today's world you can just grab your phone and start a video diary of your licks so you don't forget them. I want to stress again, while it's really easy to reach for some scales or some diagrams or a tab of some famous solo, there is no substitute for sitting down and really challenging your own creativity. Thanks again for checking out the channel. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Until I see you again, happy guitaring. Bye.